you so much, Dave. I'll stay seated here on the couch. President Obama wants to slash the deficit by getting rid of tax breaks for the wealthy. Take a listen.
I say that at a time when the tax burden on the wealthy is at its lowest level in half a century, the most fortunate among us can afford to pay a little more. I don't need another tax cut. And here's the thing, I believe that most wealthy Americans would agree with me. They want to give back to their country, a country that's done so much for them.
So is this the way to go? Joining us now, Democratic strategist David Mercer. He also served as the Deputy National Finance Director for the Democratic National Convention and Senior Fellow at the Heritage Foundation, Curtis Dubé. Thanks for joining me, gentlemen.
It's a pleasure to be with you, Molly. Good
Curtis,
morning.
Well, good morning. I'll start with you because Republicans in Congress are saying, no, this is not a good idea. They don't want to see it happen. What are your thoughts?
Even talking about President Obama's tax hike?
Indeed.
It's nothing new. It's the same thing we've been hearing for the last 3 years. We've been hearing it since President Obama started running for president back in 2007. He wants to raise taxes on the rich. What he doesn't tell you is that raising tax on the rich couldn't come close to covering the deficits that he's proposing for the next 10 years. And it does nothing to fix our long-run problems. The only way to fix our deficit problem is to, 1, reform entitlement programs, and 2, have economic growth. His plan does nothing to reform entitlements, and his tax hike plan will slow economic growth.
David, I want to bring you in right away because the president is also making kind of a moral argument here. He talks about the fortunate among Americans, that they should be able to give more. He even gets kind of specific. He talks about $6,000 that would eventually go to seniors. But is there a one-to-one comparison? Does that $1 trillion over 12 years actually go directly to seniors or even to infrastructure or anything in particular?
Well, it goes to reducing, that $1 trillion, Molly, goes to reducing our deficit, the interest on our deficit. Look, President Obama, like all of us, wants to reduce spending, wants to cut our deficits, and do it with shared sacrifice. And listen, you know, we can say that we're going to cut the deficit, and you can say we're going to cut taxes, but you can't say both or do both. And President Obama knows that in letting the tax cuts expire, as is legislated from last year in December 2010, expiring in 2012, allows us to reduce our deficit by $1 trillion. That is the main point. If we're serious about doing so, that's what we got to do, is let those tax cuts expire in 2012.
You know, I only have time for a quick one-word answer from you guys, but will the president get his way here? He's putting his foot down. It didn't work before. Curtis?
No.
David?
The answer is yes, with 59% of the American public believing he's doing the right thing.
David and Curtis, thank you so much for joining me this morning. Republican, Democratic interest there being at stake. I appreciate it.
Very much to be with you. Very good to be with you.
Thank you. Imagine this.